Good afternoon. Happy Saturday. Another Saturday with Our World Power Show. Here with Lady Pauline and my co host, Mr. Glenn Greenwich, and my new co host, Miss Africa. How
Yes.
are
I'm
you?
fine. How are you guys?
Welcome to our world.
Yes, WGJSradio.com, Jamaica, Queens. I'm glad to be here, yo.
Yes. I have an interesting guest. You know, it is Black History Month, and we always go back in time and we talk about a lot of people. But I have a young lady that I was reading her bio, and I met her years ago. Her name is Colby Christina. She's our guest today. But I just want to take off my hat to her because she is such an inspiration to young women. And I'm glad to have her as my honored guest today.
And young men, come on.
Yes.
We're inspired by her too.
Yeah, oh, you are okay.
I gotta
All right.
represent.
Yeah.
Okay, Glenn.
Colby, where are you? How are you?
Hi, how are you? Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be
Yes.
speaking with you all today. So
Uh,
thank you so much.
I just want to mention that Colby Christina is a professional actor. She's a singer. She's a dancer. She's a model. Oh my God! It goes on a TV host. Um, when did you start all this, Christina?
So my mother and my dad put me into a dance school at the age of 2. And that was actually the same dance school that my mother trained at when she was younger as well. Restoration Youth Arts Academy, which is now branded into Restoration Art. So I started there in dance classes at 2 years old. As I got slightly older, I remember being in the hallway and I was ready to go to ballet class. And Peggy Alston, who was a director at the time, very big impact on me, formidable triple threat, all of the above. She pulled me out of the hallway and was like, "You're taking this acting class." I was like, "But I'm supposed to be going to ballet. Like, how did all this happen?" So that's where I started to develop my passion for, dancing, theater, acting, singing, all that good stuff. But also being in a household where there was a lot of, music and arts. It was something that was really there from birth. That was just always around. My dad always played instruments and music and singing. My mom was a dancer, model, singer. And they really allowed me to find my passion in that organically. But that's pretty much where my start came in. That's where my birth into the arts happened.
That's
But,
awesome. I
but
have one question off the rip. I didn't write it down. Because I'm a dancer myself and I love what you're doing. When you were pulled into the other arts of like acting and you were like, "Oh, I'm supposed to be dancing." Do you feel like it was did you have to choose? Well, I'm seeing your history. You pick all the entertainment, but did you have a point where you felt like you had to choose between dance or the acting, or did you have a conflict of what do I want to do more, or did you even have to have a conflict or get in the boat of having to choose, or were you able
Right.
to balance it all? Like, how was
Right.
that for you when you got
There,
introduced into other, entertainment?
right. There was definitely points of times where, one would take more precedent over the other. And I feel like that was, bound to happen. But, because I did start with dancing, ballet, modern,
Okay.
African, tap, jazz, all that, the whole A to Z of all those genres. But as time went on, I found acting. And I fell in love with that as well. But what was great was that being that my director was a triple threat as well.
Mm-hmm.
She's still here. She is a triple threat. She knew that I had 3 different passions, and that was music and singing, dancing and theater, and they put together a production that combined all 3. So fortunately, I was still able to, and that production was the Liberation of Mother Goose at the Billie Holiday Theater, which
Yes.
was written by Aduke Aremu and directed by Abdel Salam, who is now the director of Dance Africa in Brooklyn.
Yes.
But he really understood the essence of, keeping everything connected. So there, while I was at restoration, there was never a point in time where I felt like I had to choose. I think now that I'm in college, my major is acting, so it's really centered around that. But even here in my program, I've helped assistant choreograph shows. My capstone is, with choreography. So all throughout my career thus far, I've really wanted to make an effort of keeping everything connected because they ground me in different ways.
Well, I'm glad you can balance that out, and I'm glad the people that invested in you and really believed in you saw that. Besides just focus on one, so.
Now you mentioned obviously your parents and they had so much to do with it, and you also mentioned Miss Peggy. Were there any other inspirations that, as you were coming up, I'm sure contributed or inspired you to do all of the miraculous things that you've been able to accomplish so far?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I don't want to feel bad for forgetting any names, but there's so many people that I look at my career in different stages.
Sure.
There's people that I met in different stages. Of course, it started with my parents. Of
Right.
course, that was the foundation. And then Miss Peggy. During still to this day, these people are still connected to me still to this day. But Baba Chuck Davis. Was definitely
Baba Chuck, I'm sorry.
that name resonates everywhere.
You're talking about the
He
male Baba Chuck. Okay. I know him
he
personally, yeah.
he definitely had a major, major, major impact on, the dance aspect of my life. Miss Karen Thornton, she was my African dance teacher, still is to this day. Mentor, Abdel Salam. Oh my goodness, the list goes on and on and on. I would be here talking for an hour if I could talk about all the people that have, really poured into me. Even my professors here at my my BFA acting program. Every stage I added in more people. The National Black Theater Festival, Miss Sylvia Sprinkle Hamlin, who, just recently transitioned to the ancestral ground, but she believed in me and made me the very first celebrity teen co-chair. There's a lot of people that
Yes.
you really believed in me and, gave me chances and gave me opportunities to, use those platforms to then impact, my generation and the generation upcoming. So if we were to talk about different aspects of, part of my career so far, there's so many more names that would pop
Well,
up, but
speaking of the Black Theater, so I know you received a Rising Star Award. That was tell me you joined the ranks with Denzel Washington, Kerry Washington, and Sanai. I do not want to say her name wrong. Tell me her name, Sanai Lathan.
Sanaa Lathan.
Okay, tell me
Yeah.
exactly about the Black Theater. What was that about? I'm interested.
So going back to that story of me being pulled from the hallway,
Yeah.
I was being pulled in the hallway to, do this acting class. And eventually there was a production that was happening that I mentioned, The Liberation of Mother Goose,
Right.
that was taking place at the Billie Holiday Theater. And from that performance, I was nominated and received the AUDELCO Rising Star Award. Now, the AUDELCO Rising Star Award is something that recognizes, Black actors and actresses in Black theater to have something of our own, so that we have recognition for the wonderful plays and productions that we put together that may either go unnoticed, that have so much history behind it, that are someone's always reinventing the wheel of that production. So I was nominated for that award. Denzel Washington has an AUDELCO award. Kerry Washington has an
Yes.
AUDELCO award. Sanaa Lathan does too. And when I got that award, I was 13, I believe. I'm
Wow.
20 now, so I'm thinking back. But I was 13 at the time for my performance in that production. And from that, Miss Sylvia Sprinkle Hamlin, whose husband Larry Leon Hamlin created the National Black Theater Festival in Winston-Salem. From being at the AUDELCO Awards, a couple years later, we wanted to go to the festival. And with conversation with Miss Sylvia, she created me into being the celebrity teen co-chair. So there, I would be in charge of all the teen projects, all the anything that was going on with the youth in North Carolina. And they would have the regular co-chairs that would be there, and you would meet everyone, literally everyone in theater, in film. I had breakfast with Margaret Sugar Avery. Like
Yeah.
I
Wow.
really made so many connections there at the National Black Theater Festival. Before we aired, we were talking about Tommy Ford. Met him there. It's just so many. Andre Day Shields, he's the greatest person ever. So many people that's how I was able to really learn even more about the theater community, because a lot of the people you see at the festival you see on Greenleaf, or you see on the Haves and the Have Nots.
Mhm.
Um,
The big
but
TV productions, the big.
yeah, but you really learn to see that they all started with theater first.
Now,
And
Um, so yeah.
now I just want to jump in. You also were mentoring at that time. So you were mentoring these teams. So tell us a little bit about what that was like, and what you were able to support happening as a mentor.
Right. So a lot of the mentorship that I, started doing, still now, was a part of this campaign that I came up with called Think Big, Dream Big, and Soar. And that was really in connection with the TV show that I had developed called Colby's Corner.
Okay.
yes,
Yeah, I
I
was going
wanted
to
to
ask
ask
you
about
about
that.
that.
Yeah. Okay.
So I created that TV show, which would air, nationally and internationally. But it was really to focus on topics and aspects in life that would affect teenagers and tweens at the time, because I was younger. That would affect us, academically, socially, culturally, just everything that would affect us. And that's where that mentorship element started to come into play. And that even tied in, which is why I appreciate people that have, had a major impact on my career, because they saw the different things I was trying to do. And even at the National Black Theater Festival, there was panel discussions that I was hosting and co-hosting with a lot of my industry friends my age. And that was really to keep the conversation going of what was going on with, young artists, young students, just teenagers in general, what was going on with us. So that was, the real essence of me doing that campaign, and to just have a lasting impact and being an open resource to other teenagers like myself. Well, I'm 20 now, so I'm not a teen anymore.
And,
But when I was, yeah.
Yeah, you've done. You had something. You've
yeah,
done.
yeah, I was going to ask one question of you. What advice, I love this question, what advice would you give to any young person, such as yourself, that wants to get into the field of, show business? Like, what else can I say?
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
This question, I've always been asked this question. And a lot, has, taken place in my life, a lot of great experiences being in the business. And I've learned so much within the past 2 to 4 years, I'd say, as an actor, specifically in that niche. Ultimately, what I would say is now, and if I go back to old interviews, the answer probably changed every time. But what I would say now is to mental health is a very, very, very big thing to me right now. It always has been, but it's been, more prevalent. I would say listen to your heart. Um, and you're gonna have thoughts in your mind. There may be self doubt, anything like that. But the end, you should always listen to what your heart is telling you to do. Your heart is never gonna lie of how you're feeling. Your mind can play tricks. Your mind can be like, one day I want to do this, next day I don't think I can do it anymore. But ultimately, follow and trust what your heart is telling you to do. And you can never go wrong with what you are feeling. We even learn that now in my BFA program. If it doesn't feel right, it's okay to say no. If it feels right, you know that you gave it a chance. So that's what my newly found advice over the past few years would be: to follow your heart, your mind. Yes, you can listen to it, but your best interest is your heart.
A follow up to that question, and it's interesting you just asked that question just before. What I was going to ask you is, people hear about the egos, and how do you handle that mentally and take care of yourself, because you're going to bump into people have different ways of doing and being, and sometimes are not healthy to be working with. How do you manage that aspect of the business?
Oh yeah, most definitely. There's this course that I'm taking in my BFA program with my department chair, Nicholas Petron, who's done film and production with Al Pacino and all these great people in film. And we speak about that a lot. The uncomfortableness,
Yes.
any bad, because yes, we can speak about, all the great accomplishments that many of these actors have done, but we all have some stories, and
I'm, I'm
that's
sure.
what makes the industry, in any industry, real, because those experiences, add to us, they fuel to us. There's times where, for example, just hearing the word no. There's times where I've gotten in auditions and I didn't get it.
Hmm.
And when I was younger, that would hurt.
Sure,
When I was
sure.
Yeah.
younger. But now it's like, and how my department chair, Nick, how he describes it is, it's just that moment wasn't the time. And that kind of makes things feel a little bit easier. That maybe your opportunity wasn't then, maybe it's the next, and that's what keeps things going. And as far as, being in an industry where, people have status, um being at the National Black Theater Festival, and I talk about that a lot, is there was none of that. And I love that there was an environment where there was none of that energy going on. Like I walked out of the elevator, and I'm blanking on who it was. But you just meet so many different people, and they're just regular everyday people. Like Suge Avery needed help with like Twitter or some social media app. And I was just sitting across from her just talking. And I'm really glad that I had, had those fond experiences, because now that I know, when going into my career, one thing I prioritize is being humble. People know me. I do not like to brag. I do not like to, have that, energy attached to me, because I always want to be a person that's grounded, that someone can speak to, that someone can relate to, because at the end of the day, if you take away the title of being an actor, or you take away the AUDELCO, if you take away this, take away that, I'm still a human being at the end of the day.
Still
Um,
let people know you heard, you know what I'm saying? But still
so
be
that's
humble.
the
So
true essence of, what it is to be in this business. Understand that at the end of the day, you are a human being, and everyone should be treated as such and feel as such, regardless of how many accomplishments you have.
Do you have any practices, meditation, church? How do you ground yourself?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Meditation, journaling. I meditate a lot. I have lots of journals that I
Okay.
write in. One thing I've been doing more recently is, before I go to bed, I'll like have my own dance party. I probably get that from my dad. I have my own dance party where I'm playing my music and whatever the case may be. And I just, unwind. Another thing I do is I put my phone on do not disturb sometimes.
oh
Yeah.
uh,
yeah. My phone
and
stays on that.
things like that, that you have to do that, um when in any industry, really. But since we're on the topic of, arts and entertainment, it's really important to, really hone into yourself. So those are some self-care, practices that I'm prioritizing a lot now.
I feel like with all of your accomplishments and speaking of mental health, I know sometimes some people move very fast or some people take time to slow down, and some people probably don't believe in slowing down. With everything you've done currently right now, what are you into right now? Are you into a project or you have something coming up, or are you taking what we call a mental break? Or because I'm hearing your name and now I'm reading your history, I'm like, okay, that sounds familiar. Okay, I've heard about you. So you've done a lot. What are you doing right now, currently?
So right now I'll be graduating
Yes,
from college
congratulations.
in
Yes.
May.
Big up, big up, big up.
Yes,
With
throughout
my
all of this, and you still went to see. That's big ups. You went to college and balancing all of that, so that's nice.
Yeah. So I'll be graduating with my bachelor's in fine arts in theater acting.
Yes.
And to end the year off, I'll actually be doing 3 different performances here within my school.
Yes.
I'm doing a main stage production. I have my capstone performance, which is going to be really big on mental health, and my final senior showcase, where we will have agents and casting directors coming in.
Oh, that's nice.
I
Wow.
do I do
Nice.
still work outside of school with auditioning and things like that. Those things kind of took a slight pause because I'm in a rigorous acting program.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, this semester, I've been getting more back into the swing of things. A lot of projects that I have that are still in the works kind of went dormant because of COVID, but there are still 2 film/TV projects that are still working on. So I'm excited about those to come
Yes.
back again. So that's currently what I'm working on right now. Some more TV film projects are brewing right now. I can't talk too much about them, unfortunately.
Okay.
Um, but yeah,
That's nice. Keep it going, and I respect it all. And you're like 20 years old.
yes.
You're 20 years old. That's amazing. That's like that's motivating me because like you said about timing and all that, it really depends on the person on their own timing and who you have around you and how motivated you could be. So
Yes.
and you do a lot of things for the community is what as to what I see. And speaking of the community, Lady Pauline has mentioned to me around when you were like 12 years old, you were involved giving back to the community as a teenager. You were giving out I briefly know, so I want to know more. Lady Pauline mentioned you were giving back to the community with a university, school dresses.
Dresses and stuff, right?
Yeah, tell me more about that. Cause I'm like at 12 years old, I'm sorry, I was thinking about I don't know, going out or, performing, but not even, this sounds selfish, not even giving back. So that's a big thing.
Yeah. So a lot of my community service element comes from my grandmother. So a lot of that kind of ties in to her a lot. Always, she's a part of the Lions Club, things like that. So
Uh-oh.
I would do a lot of community service with her and give back. In my family, sickle cell is a very big, topic in our family. And my mom has a nonprofit for that. So we give back from before, turkeys and toys to the patients and to the children. So that was something that I was always really a part of, even here on campus. I do like food pantries as well that I volunteer to do. It's just something that I feel like is important. And I feel like that is something that has kept me grounded in my career. Overall, because you need to remember where you came from. And if you forget that, you start to lose yourself, I notice. So I really prioritize, remembering that it didn't start with me, remembering where I came from, remembering the community. And it's something that feels good as well. You feel good that you had a positive impact on somebody's life. So I would do a whole bunch of community service projects in Queens, now that in Long Island, all across the 5 boroughs, get signatures. I would do that all the time. So, and I still do it now while I'm at college. So, It's a great feeling.
Yeah, Kobe, I wanted to ask you something. It touches a little bit on mental illness.
Mhm.
We've been going through a lot lately in the past 2 years, but a lot of things also has been taking place in the show business world,
Right.
and not such good stuff, with people not handling things well, with suicide and
Drug overdoses.
drug overdoses
Right.
and all of that. And your program, Colby, the show, for young people. When are you going to start it back up, or is it still going?
It's something that I anticipate starting back up, and kind of channeling that in new ways as well. Um, Mainly for me now that I'm older, YouTube has a very big impact on people my age and things like that. And right now, being that it's I don't have much time to like get in a studio and record episodes and things like that. Something that I'm trying to channel and turn into is doing more diary things on YouTube, and TikTok and things like that, and Instagram.
TikTok
So yeah, I love TikTok.
is
So
real.
that to kind of because they have a really 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 big impression on a lot of young people now. Social
Thank
media
you.
is a big thing, and I do want to bring back Kobe's Corner in a more newly improved way once I graduate. Something that is at people's fingertips, that people could scroll and see and like, oh man, she's talking about this topic this week, or she's talking about this word this week. And I really want to, kind of get back into the realm of that. And because it does help, and it's something good that should be spoken about a lot. I know dialogue is happening more, with that, especially because during COVID, COVID's still here, but during the past 2 years, a lot has changed.
Yes.
A lot has changed
New World
uh,
Order.
in my life and everyone's life.
Yeah.
So that's important.
Kobe, we'll be right back. We're going to take a station break, and we'll be back with your conversation.
Gotta pay some
Yes.
bills.
Right?
Make sure to download the WGJS Radio app from the Apple Store or from the Google Play Store.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it. Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it. Gonna get it, gonna slip it, gonna cuff it. Check it, talk to doctor and share it. Gonna get it, gonna slip it, gonna cuff it. Check it, talk to doctor and share it.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. High blood pressure silently affects millions of Americans. Staying on top of your blood pressure is as simple as these 4 easy steps. Self-monitoring is power. Visit manageyourbp.org to learn more.
What do we do? You may not be able to plan ahead for a ghost encounter,
Under the dining table now!
but you can plan ahead for natural disasters. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts.
Maybe it's the apocalypse.
Know your evacuation routes and decide on a safe emergency meeting location.
Here? I know. I would have picked Orlando.
Protecting your family is the best plan you can make. So pass the Proton Pack to the next generation and visit ready.gov/plan to get started.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out. But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
real-world experience.
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Let 211 be your guiding light for mental health and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org.
Well, we're back. Oh my goodness, time went by so quickly. Colby, what are some of your challenges that you have experienced in your life?
Oh man. Well, we spoke about one, with denial in the industry. So that would definitely be one. I'm definitely currently on a grief journey myself. I gained an angel during the pandemic, my dad. And so that's another, challenge that I've faced, but I noticed that it's fueling me as an artist. That's another big thing. COVID took a lot out of all of us,
Sure.
but one thing I will note is that it's important to get back into, what makes us feel good. And that's definitely been a challenge, because things are virtual and we can't audition in person anymore. And all these, new feelings and new adjustments. But ultimately, I would definitely say a challenge is, to stay motivated. You have to stay motivated, being in this industry and just in regular everyday life. And, some days I can do it. I think I can do it. And some days you're like, oh, I'm just going to stay in bed today. But it's those days that you have to recharge and be like, I can do this. So I know for me to kind of suppress any challenges that I face, I, say positive affirmations. I take those moments for myself. So that's pretty much, how I stay afloat in spite of all the challenges that we may face, virtual classes and all those different things really take a toll on you. So yeah.
I was going to ask you, inside of your acting career, are there any specific people that you would like to portray, like a Dorothy Dandridge or a Josephine Baker, or any of those kind of characters? If you had a shot, you would say, "Oh, absolutely, I would definitely want to play her," or a particular, any roles that you see that if you got a chance to play, you would jump at.
Right, definitely. So I took on a new look as of last year. And I cut my hair. So now I have a lot shorter hair now, which it may seem like, okay, yeah, she cut her hair, but in the industry that changes your whole look. And that
Sure.
that changes a lot of dynamics. And it was something that was, really big for me to do. Even my mom was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" I'm like, "I'm positive. I'm doing it. Like, we're just gonna do it, and that's just what it's gonna be." But a lot of, starting with the genres of what I really want to tap into now is action, as far as film, action and adventure.
Okay.
I love things that are fast, and I don't know, I just love things like that. Movies that give off kind of like the aura of, like, that Takers movie with Chris Brown in it, or that Old Guard movie that was on Netflix recently. So there's a lot of roles that I want to take on, more action and adventure, more fast pace, kind of CSI.
And that haircut will do it.
The more edgier, like fast, sophisticated roles. But there's also roles, dramatic roles, and things like that. I would love to be in a Tyler Perry series or
Speaking
film.
into existence, there you go.
Yes,
Okay.
Law of attraction.
And it was funny that I think, I can make that happen, because I had a sign about it too. While I was at the National Black Theater Festival, Angela Robinson from The Haves and the Have-Nots was there.
Oh.
And we took a picture together, and someone was like, "She can play your daughter."
Hey,
I
that's a
was
sign.
I was like, I definitely could. So, that's part of a lot of the outreach that I'm doing now with like my agent and manager and stuff too, because Tyler Perry's always coming out with new stuff.
Yes,
Hey,
he
Tyler
is.
Perry, you hear that? We got Colby
And
Christina, man.
he is definitely one of my favorite, actors, directors, because he's always giving people like myself a chance. There's a lot of new faces that he has in the series, but some main, those are just the type of roles that I would want. Some actors that I look up to, definitely would be, Tyler Perry, Kerry Washington. Idris Elba is probably my favorite male actor of all time.
Why is that? What
It's
specifically?
just what for as a male actor, and now I'm going to talk about my female actor that I love. For him, the ability that he has to do accent work. That's something that
right.
I'm
Yes.
working on right now in school. For the longest time, I didn't realize he was from the UK.
Yeah, nobody
And
did.
I started studying him. I was like, wow, because we learn how to do accents here in school, British, Irish, all those different things. I was like, man, he's good at just turning that off and becoming a totally different character. And I always found that very interesting. For female actors, I love me some Viola. That's never
Okay.
going to change. The roles that Viola plays, I would definitely want to play a similar role of that. But what's definitely top on my bucket list right now is action and adventure. With the new that's with the new look that I have. That's what I'm pushing right now.
Well, it's interesting. I was thinking along the lines of superheroes. Is that something
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Like seeing like Marvel movies or something.
Yes, definitely.
What will come? Because like you said, you spoke of changing your look and in different industries. I just know specifically with dance, if I don't have big hair, of course not with everything, but it took down some gigs because I'm known for big hair. It gave me that extra oomph. So with you doing that idea, I feel like that's a good sacrifice. And well, if you see it as a sacrifice from what you're used to, so you're challenged. I see it as challenging yourself from what you're used to being and, probably comfortable in the setting that you are. So you're doing something different. And some people might not understand and they're like, no, don't cut it. It's like,
yeah,
you might not understand, man. So big ups to you for doing that.
Thank you.
I've got a question. With all the journaling you're doing, you probably got some projects that you've come up with. Now, I don't want you to divulge anything, that you shouldn't. But it seems like you may be able to launch some projects, and you're around the right folks in terms of the shakers and the movers of the industry.
I'm presently doing that right now. I'm using a lot of my journaling right now to develop my capstone performance for senior year. And that is all geared around my grief journey and a look into, my life a little bit of what it's like to, be, that actor, but still dealing with trials and tribulations, dealing with experiences. And, back to that topic of mental health and how that looks in different aspects of people's life. So that the journaling that I'm doing is being put to use.
Good. Okay.
I've been digging stuff up. So yeah.
Yes.
I've got another question for you. We have a couple of friends of ours that are doing small movies and doing production. And what would you recommend for someone, a young person who's starting out in the field? What kind of education or training would you recommend as a way of producing small short films and so forth?
For me, and I was just having this conversation with someone as well. I definitely do hold up education as a really big thing. Um, and particularly with the industry that I'm in, I'm always suggesting that people take classes and
Mm-hmm.
workshops to familiarize themselves with the craft of acting, because as an actor, certain roles that you take on can be very uncomfortable and can be very taxing, but you have to know how to separate yourself from that character. So
Mm-hmm.
it's you as the actor, and it's this character that may have so much going on, and but if you don't know how to take on that character in a healthy way,
Mm-hmm.
um,
You're
you have to
separating.
you have to be able to separate it. So I always, because people, when most times when people are writing things, it's from the heart, it's from the feeling, it's from the emotion. And those emotions and feelings are heavy. So
Mm-hmm.
when you hand that script to an actor, and there may be something in there that you cast them in this role, but there could be something in there that triggers them, but they have to be able to know the techniques, and things like that, so that they can take on that character very safely. So ultimately, I would always, for people that are trying to produce any new works, or taking on a new acting gig or project, or anything like that, continuously take acting classes, continuously take workshops. It's very, very, very important, so that you can handle that work safely. I know, for example, I did a reading at the drama bookshop, with Yvette Helliger, and the play that she wrote, Kerry Washington originally did it when she was 13 years old.
Ooh.
So I redid that role, and it was geared around the themes of, sexual assault. And me being younger, and I was still learning about acting, separating and things like that. Luckily, with the tools that I had, I was able to do that role safely. So I would always prioritize, to answer your question, educate, educate, educate. If you can't afford classes, YouTube is there. Reach out to peers, different things like that. Read articles. Just keep yourself in the loop on things like that.
Colby, you keep mentioning taking on roles safely.
Mhm.
I remember when what was that movie that came out where the guy killed himself? Oh my goodness,
I'm sorry, that was it.
I can't remember. Not Scarface. He had the
The
face.
Joker?
Oh,
The
the
Joker.
Joker.
The Joker. Yes,
Oh,
the Joker.
man.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
actor.
we're
The
talking
actor.
about
He
that.
went
Right.
deep into his role. It probably
Yeah.
got to his mental health, man.
I remember them saying that it had effects on him,
Mhm.
and I really didn't understand that. And now listening to you saying it, so what you're definitely saying is that sometimes playing a role can have an effect on the way you feel and the way you think psychically.
Yeah, I was just talking about that too. And that's something that we speak about all the time in my courses with my department chair, Nick. And he always tells us that when we're doing a role that is uncomfortable, or we have to channel, there's certain techniques that you can do to do them properly and safely, so that you're putting on a believable performance. But something he tells us to always do after those roles is to take a shower.
Mm.
Mm.
Kind of
Take
wash
that
it
energy
away.
off.
And because you have to get rid of that.
I forgot. I was
Wow.
And acting's pretty hard. Some people have the thought process that, like, oh, audition, I'm going to be on Disney and Nickelodeon and all these great channels and stuff. But there's a lot of deep work that you have to do to make sure that you're doing it safely. As with anything, you have to train yourself. You have to be able to separate those things, because at the end of the day, you're becoming someone else for that moment.
Okay.
So yeah, that was definitely one example of that. His performance was great, and
I
things like
forget
that.
that he's gone. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's great performers like that we lose to something that we just want to do safely, you know.
That's very true, Christina. Also I wanted to bring up Dr. Thomas, who is your mother and your manager.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a two for one all rolled up there.
Yeah, that makes the difference of who you have around and to keep you motivated and
Yeah,
keep you going.
my mom and my dad have been there for, of course, from the beginning, obviously. And my dad would always be the one that he was in the conversation, things like that, but he's just like, where I gotta drive you to? Where am I Ubering you to today? My mom, I'm grateful that she's been in the industry before because she knows the things to look for and look out for.
Sure. Sure.
So that's been something that's, very important. And as I'm, progressing into this new stage of new routes and avenues that I want to take as an artist, we're teaching each other. Like I'm teaching her, Mom, this has to be done like this now. Or she was like, no, I may be old school, but you still need to look out for this.
Sure. Sure.
And we have that balance of, education on what I know now versus what she knows from before that could still be relatable to now that I need to look out for. So she's there. She's there.
Yeah, I know she's there. How's she with social media? Because I, for many years, have sort of managed my son's career, and he will say to me, "Oh my God, just sit down somewhere in the corner. Just be a grandmother and do some knitting," which is one of his favorite words. I think he told me that this morning.
Like, Mom, relax. I got it.
That's one thing is, and there's a lot of even in any industry, people have to realize that even Tiana Taylor, I think her mom still manages her, and there's nothing wrong with that. You may bump heads because you're still mixing business with family, but sometimes you need that extra person to be like, hey. So me and my mom, like when we're working, it's like we're like two sisters fighting sometimes.
Oh, it is. Oh, it does happen.
It is real.
It's needed. It's needed. So, she's there. She does her thing. And, we're working hard right now and, getting things in motion together. So
I've got a question for you. Because you've been on Broadway as well as acting. How differently do you prepare for Broadway versus a film?
Theater and film, oh my goodness, it's different. You foundationally, I say, things are relatively the same foundationally. It's just performance is different, and this is something that we're really honing in right now too in classes as well. With theater, can be big.
Yes.
It could do big reactions, this and that, very, dramatic. With film, you have to remember it's like this. So those big motions that you have are not going to translate well on screen.
Right.
And you have to learn how to, take it from here to here and make people listen. So I can be like, oh my gosh, I'm having a great day. That's theater. Oh my gosh, I'm having a great day. It's two totally different, dynamics of, what you're doing. So preparing for theater is a lot different. It runs a lot longer because you can have 8 shows a week. Right. Or on Broadway, you can be running for months and months at a time. With film, there's takes. So you made 30 takes. Okay, we're doing this scene, action. You may just get it done in 1 take. And then after that, it's gone on to editing, and then you see, it. Okay. But one thing, it's there forever. With theater, you have to, get new cast and things like that, and you get a different feeling every time. So that's the one thing I do like about theater is every performance can be different. Okay. With film, once you do that take, and it's edited and it's sent off to the different departments and it's made, that's that one film. So there's certain things that you can do with theater that you can't do with film, which keeps it fresh, which keeps it exciting. So I think that's why a lot of film actors actually keep going back to theater, because there's a sort of liberation there as well. So yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting.
I really like that, and I've always heard that, but I like the way you put everything together. It's very, very understandable. You know.
Now I've got one more before we go. What kind of eating regimen do you need to have the high energy, high output performance that you need in your day-to-day life?
That's a great question.
That's a great question. Because I'm sore just sitting right here because I went to the gym yesterday. But from before, when I was in middle school and high school, what I would do is I would go to school. Would go to school in Long Island, so I had to wake up at like 5 a.m. and go to Long Island to school, get out at 3, take the LIRR to Brooklyn to Restoration, have dance class from 4:30 to 9:30, go home, wake up, do it all over again. And then some days after school, I'm going to film a commercial. I'm going to do the Broadway production rehearsal that I was doing. And I would constantly have to do that. But luckily with dance, that was my exercise to keep me energized and keep me going. Now on college campuses, with food options can be a little tempting. I will say that. But one thing that you definitely have to do, you definitely have to stay active and stay hydrated. It's very, very, very important, especially, while in college too, with the program that I'm in, because rehearsal could be Monday through Friday, 6 to 10, Saturday, Sunday, 10 to 10. And you just have to take care of yourself, set time aside for yourself, learn when to say no. And all those different things. So it's really important to stay active. I know for me, now I'm kind of getting back in the realm of, working out 2 times, 3 times a week, having my self-care moments, treating myself, doing different things like that. But you definitely have to, adjust your lifestyle to make sure that it's healthy so that you can stay fueled, you can stay energized. Because I was talking about this the other day with my acting classmates. If you don't have the energy as the actor, you won't be able to give the energy to the character.
That's a good point.
At all.
Yeah.
Because if you're walking in tired, but your character is this bubbly person, you won't be able to be bubbly because you don't have any energy.
You're not a match. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very important to, have a healthy regimen going on. And switch up your routine. It's fun to switch things up. I was talking about that with my brother the other day. Routine is good, but switch things up. Keep things exciting. Make yourself feel free, loose, all that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because I feel like in a society of, I don't know, it's good to be consistent of a routine, and from what I know is just have that one routine and it's just every day. But me, I'm sporadic. It can be here or there, but it's still some type of consistency that you need.
Exactly.
But I like that you said that, keep it pumping, Keep it pumping, man.
Keep it pumping,
Life is
all right.
exciting.
I hear you.
But keep doing what you're doing, Colby. I look up to you, so that's good what you're doing, and jack of all trades.
Just want to acknowledge you for all of the accomplishments that you've had, and we wish you the world of success going forward. We're clear that you're going to be a giant in the industry, and we're pulling for you and sending you energy to make that happen.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
And how can folks get a hold of you if they need to, or got some opportunities?
Like
Tyler Perry. Like Tyler Perry.
Hey, Tyler Perry,
So
you gotta be
I
listening.
am on Instagram mainly. I have 2 separate accounts because, like I said, you still want to have that personal, life. So my Instagram is COLBY CHRISTINA 529. And my personal Instagram is just Colby Christina. There I kind of post more things, real mental health, healing. My artistry is, of course, but Miss_Colby Christina is the way to, stay connected with me. So on Instagram, it's MS_Colby Christina. And just online as well, just typing in my name, Colby Christina. My IMDb comes up, which has my contact information there. My website will pop up. Everything will populate. But I'm very, very, very active on Instagram and Facebook under Colby Christina.
Yes, I followed you. I tagged you. Boom. Got you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Colby Christina, for being on Our World Power Show. You've been listening to Lady Pauline and Glenn Greenwich and Africa.
Yes. You know the vibes. Jamaica, Queens, New York. I appreciate WGJS Radio.
That's right. And, of course, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Our World Media #1.
Yes.
All right. And don't forget to listen to us 24 hours a day on WGJSradio.com.
Active.
All right.
Subscribe and like us on YouTube.
Look at you on here. Yeah, you better get those subscribes, man.
Yeah, of course. So, everybody, catch you all next week. Same time, same place. Take care.
Here.
Yeah.
We outside.